Part 109. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1089. Cough cough cough. Shan Yu lowered his head and coughed out a large amount of blood. The shocking blood flowed along the wall of the wash basin and into the stopper at the bottom of the wash basin. Looking up again, Shan Yu looked at himself in the mirror with messy hair and a bloodless face. He casually pulled the corners of his lips and raised his hand to wipe away the blood from the corners of his mouth. Then, the sound of water flowing sounded again. Shan Yu washed away the blood on his hands bit by bit, and his vision gradually became blurred. But Shan Yu looked calm, as if the heartbreaking pain and suffocation feeling coming from his heart did not exist at all. Shan Yu had just turned around and was about to leave the public restroom when someone hurriedly walked in outside the door. When the two people's eyes met, both sides were surprised. Although the woman in front of him was wrapped up tightly, with sunglasses on her face and a scarf wrapped around the lower half of her face, Shan Yu still recognized this person. Chu Crescent Moon. Chu Xinyu died in that copy. Why didn't this man die? And he suddenly appeared in the base? Did she even run into him? Shan Yu looked startled and backed away slowly. Is it you? Are you not dead? After being surprised, Chu Xinyu gently placed her right hand on a bracelet on her left wrist, pressed a small gem on the bracelet, and then a sneer appeared at the corner of her mouth. Thanks to you, I almost died. It's a pity. It's really a disaster for thousands of years, Shan Yu said in a mocking tone. You and Zioki are very close, right? Chu Xinyu approached Shan Yu step by step, as if she was just asking about something as ordinary as have you eaten today. But the anger and hatred deep in his heart were eroding Chu Xinyu's body and mind bit by bit. It hurt so much. The moment of death in the copy. For a moment, Chu Xinyu was worried that the last resort would not take effect, and then she would die. Even though he was resurrected, the pain he felt before death was real. The most important point is that Guqi, whom Chu Xinyu had always regarded as a plaything, actually got out of his control and bid her back. If the children are disobedient, of course they will be punished. The disgusting taste of destroying the things that children care about most fascinates Chu Xinyu. It was this sudden rise of bad taste that made Chu Xinyu temporarily put aside the serious things she had to do when she came to the base. Chu Xinyu looked at Shan Yu's current condition and the faint smell of blood in the air, and raised her eyebrows. Oh? Are you sick? Or injured? Or, about to die? Internal beta players are more or less flawed. Chu Xinyu reacted quickly and noticed something was wrong with Shan Yu. Chu Xinyu reminded playfully, don't you need dream repair agent? What does it have to do with you? Shan Yu looked at Chu Xinyu warily. This woman didn't know when she came to the space. They need to inform Susu and Guqi immediately, otherwise, they don't know what this crazy woman will do to them. Chu Xinyu also saw Shan Yu's thoughts and sneered, don't worry about notifying them. I have set up a magnetic field here, and your panel cannot be used for the time being. Hearing this, Shan Yu's heart sank. Shan Yu tried the panel without belief and found that he couldn't even open the panel. It's really the other side. After Sutingyu and Guqi finished talking, when they were about to go back to find Qin and Fatty, a woman suddenly ran in the direction of the two of them, seemingly holding something in her hand. The woman asked Sutingyu and the two of them eagerly, have you seen Shan Yu? Sutingyu was stunned for a moment, and then remembered that this woman who suddenly appeared seemed to be Shan Yu's friend. Her name was Du Jiwei. Sutingyu asked, what's wrong? We just released the dungeon and we didn't see Sister Shan Yu. She sent me the last dream repair potion. Du Jiwei's voice was choked with sobs, and he was holding a reagent in his hand. Sutingyu recognized it immediately. This reagent was the dream repair agent. Sutingyu was a little confused, but still caught the key words. What's the last one? What happened to Sister Shan Yu? Guqi frowned and looked at Du Jiwei. For some reason, an indescribable sense of panic arose in his heart, as if something was disappearing. The panic of not being able to find anyone at the moment made Du Jiwei no longer hold back and tell the truth. She has always had a heart problem. Even if her heart has been replaced several times in the past few years, it still doesn't work. The function of the heart will still be exhausted little by little. Right now, a dream fix for the game has finally appeared, but Shan Yu has never been able to use it. When she entered the dungeon, she also hid it from me, saying that she had taken the dream restoring potion. But now that the dungeon is out, I received the dream restoring potion from her. Sutingyu's face changed slightly. Then we need to find Sister Shan Yu quickly. But Sister Shan Yu has a physical problem. Why don't you take the dream repair agent? Sutingyu couldn't help but think of the first time he met Shan Yu in the dungeon. At that time, Shan Yu told herself in a joking tone that she had a heart problem and would not survive for a few years. Later, Shan Yu interrupted her, and Shan Yu had not revealed anything on the surface. Gradually, Sutingyu forgot about it. In private, Sutingyu mentioned this to Shan Yu once. If you are short of game currency and don't have enough to redeem the dream repair potion, you can come to her to get it. With so many game coins, she can buy many fantasy repair agents. Let's talk while we walk, Gucci said. Du Jiwei nodded, that's good. Not long after the three of them started searching, they suddenly heard a radio broadcast from the base. Please pay attention. Please pay attention. Currently, unknown persons have entered the base and attacked many base personnel, causing casualties. Please be careful of strangers and avoid being deceived. Maintain your own safety. The base patrol immediately stepped up patrols and strictly investigated everyone inside. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Kei. Chapter 1090. I sensed an aura that disgusted me. At this time, Lucifer's voice sounded in Sutingyu's mind. Sutingyu was shocked. What makes Lucifer feel disgusted is. Thinking of the sudden broadcast from the base, Sutingyu immediately asked Gucci, the intruder is from Yin Yang Star. Upon hearing those three words, Gucci's pupils shrank slightly. Yin Yang Star. Could it be? Impossible. There's no way that woman is still dead. The rules of the game, how could she avoid it? Find Shan Yu first, no. Find the intruder. Gucci always felt a little uneasy. Well. Sutingyu summoned Lucifer, Lulu, I'm sorry to bother you. After Gucci used the panel to notify Qin Chi and Fatty respectively, he followed Sutingyu to find someone. And at this time, what Sutingyu didn't know was that after the two left, Qin Chi and Fatty who were together also separated. Fatty looked at the message sent by Gucci and didn't even find anyone to make up his mind. Brother Qin doesn't know where he went. Forget it, I'll look for him too. The other side. Chu Xinyu walked out of the public restroom humming a song and heard the base's broadcast, Tisk, we were discovered, so hurry up. Chu Xinyu's enchanting eyebrows were a little sharper, and then she turned her head, and her fox-like face was replaced by an ordinary face. Along the way, he evaded many base investigators and sneaked into the official area of the base. The information of top players should be placed here. Chu Xinyu successfully used her skills to charm a staff member and came to the front of a file room. There is also an access card, which is a pity. Chu Xinyu took out a silver card from the panel. The game is coming. The technology of a low-level civilization like Blue Star is as fragile as a piece of paper and cannot stop me. Chu Xinyu just swiped the card in her hand, and the door opened. Seeing this, Chu Xinyu smiled and was about to reach out to push the door open. Brush. A sword light appeared from behind Chu Xinyu. Chu Xinyu's expression changed drastically. The bronze sword struck Chu Xinyu's body, and several white lights lit up. Even with the buffer of several defensive items, Chu Xinyu took several steps back due to the impact. Her panel opened frequently, reminding her that one defense item after another was being destroyed. Chu Xinyu was shocked. He looked at the man who suddenly appeared in front of him and narrowed his eyes slightly. "Are you, the person who has been following that little girl? Gu Qi's friend?" Qin Shi looked at Chu Xinyu indifferently, without saying a word, holding the bronze sword in his hand and walking towards the ladder. "You. I didn't expect that there was a capable person beside Gu Qi." A smile appeared on Chu Xinyu's lips. She opened the panel and pressed a certain item. "Say hello to Gu Qi for me. By the way, tell him that I prepared a gift for him." But as Qin Shi raised his bronze sword again, Chu Xinyu was shocked to discover. "Why haven't I been teleported yet? This is impossible." Chu Xinyu's panel jumped crazily. "Warn. Warn." Obstructed by some mysterious force, the space jump failed, etc. Chu Xinyu wanted to say something, but it was too late. Qin Shi's eyes were cold, with a look that was not as cold as a living person. The bronze sword in his hand penetrated Chu Xinyu's chest. Chu Xinyu's eyes suddenly widened and she stared at Qin Shi. "No. Impossible. There's no way she can just. Warn. Warn. Gatekeeper execution error. The gatekeeper execution is over." In her blur of consciousness, the moment Chu Xinyu's body fell, she seemed to see a pair of men's leather boots appearing in the distance. Step by step, it was like ringing a death knell. Chu Xinyu wanted to laugh, but when she opened her mouth, a large amount of blood surged into her throat. "I didn't expect, it turns out, you are still skilled." Chu Xinyu's last voice slowly disappeared, and she completely lost her breath. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 1091. This way. Turn left. Because of Lucifer's guidance, Sutingyu ran all the way at the front. Du Jiwei couldn't keep up, and only Gu Qi could keep following. But when passing by a public restroom, Gu Qi's steps slowly stopped. He turned back sharply and looked at the public restroom he had just run past. The smell of blood came from inside. Guju. Sutingyu, who had walked far away, glanced out of the corner of her eye and saw that Gu Qi was not following. She looked back and saw Gu Qi stopping in front of the door of the public restroom. What's wrong? Sutingyu hurriedly walked over. We still have to go find Sister Shan Yu. Inside, Gu Qi interrupted Sutingyu. It smells of blood, a very strong smell of blood. Hearing this, Sutingyu's eyes were stunned for a moment, and then he took out the angel tiles with wary eyes and walked towards the door. When Sutingyu saw the scene clearly, his pupils suddenly shrank. On one wall of the bathroom, a slender body with its head lowered was penetrated by several black sharp pillars as thick as arms and nailed to the wall. His hands, legs, abdomen, throat, were all densely penetrated, and blood covered most of the wall. Sister! Sister Shan, Sister Shan Yu! The angel brick was thrown to the ground by Sutingyu. She walked quickly towards the person nailed to the wall, her fingertips trembling, wanting to feel the person's breath. No. No more. Sutingyu pulled out all the black pointed pillars, and when the blood inside flowed out, he immediately took out various medicines from the panel to suppress the bleeding. But no matter how hard he blocks it, it won't help. No breathing. There is no heartbeat. Sister, Sister Shan Yu, don't scare me. Sutingyu immediately bought a bottle of dream repair potion and wanted to feed it to Shan Yu. At this time, Gu Qi stretched out his hand to stop Sutingyu, his voice trembling slightly. It's useless, the dream repair agent is only effective on living people. Already. Gu Qi looked at the wounds on Shan Yu's body, and an uncontrollable hostility and anger arose in his heart. Chu Xinyu must have done it. Why? Why didn't you hurry up? Didn't you find her faster? Suddenly, Gu Qi turned his head and looked at the door of the bathroom, his face as cold as ice. Qin Shi's figure stopped at the door of the bathroom. He glanced at the situation inside, his face became silent, and he said softly, Chu Xinyu is dead. I killed her with my own hands and confirmed that she was dead. Gu Qi looked startled. Dead? But Chu Xinyu is dead, so what's the point now? That night, in a dark room, Du Jiwei was combing the hair of Shan Yu, who was sleeping peacefully on the bed. Su Tingyu, Qin Shi, Gu Qi, and Fatty all stood aside in silence. Du Jiwei's voice was low and somewhat hoarse. Shan Yu, she probably doesn't want to live anymore. I should have thought of it. Maybe she had already thought of everything before she took her revenge. Even if the dream repair agent can repair the physical trauma, it can't change the painful past that I don't want to think about. Su Tingyu pursed her lips. Sister Shan Yu. Du Jiwei raised his head and smiled reluctantly at Su Tingyu. However, I think Shan Yu should be very happy. She took revenge on all the people who bullied her. Originally, I thought she would never have a second friend besides me. Du Jiwei glanced at Su Tingyu, then turned to look at Gu Qi, who was leaning in the corner not far away, and said softly. She doesn't trust anyone. She always has the greatest malice to speculate on anyone around her, even if the other person is harmless on the surface, even if the other person has never done anything. I hope that in the next generation, Sister Shan Yu can live a simpler and happier life. Su Tingyu nodded. Yes, I will. She's going to be happy. She has said goodbye to the ugly and dirty version of herself in the most decisive way. She left cleanly. After Du Jiwei calmed down, he took one last look at Shan Yu, who was sleeping, then stood up and said goodbye to Su Tingyu and the others. Fatty took the initiative to send Du Jiwei out. Qin Shi seemed to think about it for a moment, then followed him out. After Du Jiwei sent him away, Su Tingyu looked hesitantly at Gu Qi, who was staying in the corner without saying a word. Guju. Su Tingyu hesitated for a moment, then called out again, brother. Gu Qi lowered his head, his somewhat out of focus pupils gradually regained consciousness, and he responded softly. Su Tingyu bit her lip. Sister Shan Yu is still here. As long as we remember her, she will still be there. As soon as he finished speaking, he fell into a dead silence. After a while, Gu Qi suddenly raised his head and said calmly, there is still a way, to save her. Any solution? Su Tingyu was stunned for a moment, with a look of surprise on his back. Gu Qi's eyes became complicated for a moment, and he didn't know what he was thinking. He explained, in the Mall of Parallel Paradise, there is a medicine that can bring back the dead. If the body is intact, take this medicine within 48 hours. You can save people. Su Tingyu immediately opened the panel excitedly. Then what are you waiting for? Let's hurry up and save Sister Shan Yu. No, Gu Qi shook his head slightly. She won't want to. As early as abroad. As early as that night, when I took Shan Yu to the high tower and overlooked the entire bustling night city. At that time, he didn't feel wrong. At that time, Shan Yu's revenge had been avenged and he had no worries anymore. He really wanted to jump from there. I just don't know why I didn't do it again. She won't be willing to come back and face herself again. At the end of the sentence, Gu Qi's voice became very soft. Gu Qi looked down at his empty right hand. For a moment, he also was a little envious of Shan Yu for being able to leave so decisively. But he is not good yet. Hearing this, Su Tingyu frowned. Then what else can we do to save Sister Shan Yu? If Shan Yu wanted to live, he would have had many opportunities before to take the dream repair potion to repair his heart problems. But she didn't. Su Tingyu couldn't force his will on Shan Yu. Gucci raised his head and looked at Sutingyu. Other than that, the only way is to win this game and become the number one. If you win the game, all time and space will be reversed, only then can you have the opportunity to save Shan Yu back in that initial time. Sutingyu looked stunned, the first time. Next, listen carefully. Gucci's attitude was unprecedentedly serious, and he spoke word by word. Qin Lin, his family accident happened. I suspect that the problem with his legs happened in the last year of his service. Obesity in fat people is not caused by nature, but by drugs. Time. Shan Yu was picked up by the wrong person when she was just born. When she was 5 years old, she was found by her biological parents, and then she ran away from home when she was 12 years old. Gucci talked a lot and took everyone's situation into consideration. But in the end, he was the only one who didn't mention himself. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 1092. Sutingyu was stunned for a moment, wondering why Gucci seemed to be explaining the aftermath of his funeral after saying so much. Guju, what are you talking about? Gucci looked calm and said, just in case. We don't know what the final battle will be like, but it won't be that simple. Sutingyu, if something unexpected happens, you must stay until the end and achieve the final victory. Gucci was still a little uncomfortable with Sutingyu being his sister. He turned his head slightly and spoke in an awkward tone. Sutingyu was stunned for a moment, then nodded, yes, I understand. Finally, Sutingyu and Gucci glanced at Shan Yu, who seemed to be just sleeping, and walked out. After going out, the fat man hurried over. Boss, there was a notice from the base just now, saying that players who have seen the Blue Star administrator in the base are asked to assemble. Following the fat man, Qin Ki was as taciturn as usual, like a shadow hiding inconspicuously. Sutingyu patted Fatty on the shoulder. Fatty, Sister Shan Yu will leave it to you first. Let's go take a look first. Okay, boss. Sutingyu turned to look at Qin Chi again. Kikai, you don't need to go, right? Qin Chi nodded, you go ahead. Well. After a brief exchange of words, Sutingyu and Gucci rushed to the meeting point at the base. At the same time, selected gamers from all over the country were summoned to Blue Star's 3 bases. Gamers who really couldn't be summoned could contact them online through the game panel. Then, various countries sent various cutting-edge talents to begin formulating combat plans for the upcoming final Holy War. At the same time, the heads of the 5 major Blue Star countries convened the heads of all surviving countries for a final mobilization meeting online. With props and equipment in the game, they can be holographically projected to various bases around the world, connecting all human game panels. Everyone, all humans on Blue Star are in a life or death situation. Before this, no matter what country we are from, what skin color we have, whether we are men or women, what kind of grievances and frictions we all have family, friends, and lovers who need to be protected. We all have a common identity, that is Blue Star people, we all have a common home, that is Blue Star. Now, Blue Star and all mankind are at a critical juncture of life and death. As the selected players, you are everyone's hope. The fate of Blue Star and all mankind is in your hands. There are still 7 days left before the final Holy War game time. During this period, all Blue Star bases will meet all the needs of the Jihad players at all costs and start sharing the resources and information of the final Holy War for the Jihad players. The future of Blue Star is left to you. After the mobilization meeting, Blue Star's major bases began to operate at high speed like rigorous machines. When ordinary players received the news of the final Holy War, they reacted violently, including fear, anxiety, despair, silent prayer, and hope. And 400 Jihadi players went to the nearest base in unison and made reports to apply for the game props and Jihadi information they needed. All aspects of the Jihadist players who can be selected are strictly screened by Blue Star administrators. Major bases are also counting the personal information of jihad players and analyzing the data of these jihad players. Among them, there is a summary rule. Similarities of selected players. 170% of them are internal beta players. 2. All jihad players have played the game no less than 10 times, the game level is no less than level 7, and they have rich game experience and game literacy. 3. All jihad players have at least one game profession. 4. Before the start of the public beta, 90% of the citizen information big data had no criminal records. 5. Have family and friends who serve as a protective bond. On the vast land of heavy snow, a steel black vehicle that was armed like a truck or an off-road vehicle was speeding on the snowy land. Finally, we stopped in front of a leeward slope to rest. At this time, the game panels of everyone in the car popped up and received the video conference of the pep rally. One of them was playing with a lighter in his hand. While the others were discussing the final holy war in surprise and confusion, the man said, 7 days later, when I am not in the team, Giraffe will lead the team. When the others heard this and thought of the mobilization meeting just now, they were shocked. Wow! Boss, are you also the selected player? Wow! This is so awesome! The boss is so powerful, so it's normal for him to be chosen. Boss, our lives are in your hands. The man playing with the lighter, his eyes fell on the 2 men with broken legs and blind eyes in the corner, and said, in half an hour, continue to set off to the nearest base. I have the identity of a jihadist player to help. Pierce and McGee should have no problem applying for a bottle of dream restoration. Boss. The 2 people in the corner look stunned. Okay, that's it? In the darkened shelter, there is a man and a girl. The girl is sitting on a chair with a doll in her arms. The tall man was cooking rice and vegetables in the small kitchen. After the sound on the 2-person game panel stopped, the girl asked aloud, Brother, what does the panel say? Is brother going to fight again? It's not to fight. The man with stern eyebrows came over with the prepared meal. When he looked at the girl on the chair, he even softened his voice a lot and gently stroked the top of the girl's hair. Brother, leave. Finally, you have to stay in the room obediently. No matter what movement or people are outside, you cannot open the door and go out. Do you understand? Brother will leave enough living supplies and wait patiently for him to come back. If someone wants to hurt you, remember to use the game props my brother gave you before. The girl nodded obediently, her empty and dim eyes curved into crescent moons. Well, brother, you have to come back early. 7 days later. At midnight. Blue star bases around the world are brightly lit, and everyone has no rest. The game panels all opened on time at 0 o'clock. Hello player number 444,444, the 7-day rest period has expired, and it has been detected that you are a selected jihad player. The final jihad copy is now opened for you. Dear number 444,444, I wish you a safe journey and success. Sutingu watched the prompts for a different game than before, and her eyes slowly changed from surprise to determination. Bring it on. The Ultimate Holy War. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1093. The Final Holy War, the end of all starting points, the starting point of all different paths, fighting for the homeland of survival, fighting for the people we love and care about, not knowing tomorrow, not knowing the future, where the final destiny will go. Player Camp, 12. Number of players, 4,800. Final Jihad Rules. 1. Players in the same camp are not allowed to kill each other for any reason. Violators will be eliminated. 2. Players from different camps are allowed to fight against each other. The strong will survive and the weak will die, regardless of any means or methods. 3. The Holy War is an elimination system. If all players in a certain camp are eliminated or the holy gate they are guarding is captured by players from other camps, that camp will be eliminated. For the task of guarding the holy gate of each camp is responsible for one gatekeeper. 5. The gatekeepers are not allowed to leave the holy gate's domain, and camp players are not allowed to enter the holy gate's domain of their own camp. 6. For the first 6 camps to be eliminated, the world of this camp will also be eliminated. The camp ranked 4th to 6th will be reorganized. The world of the top 3 camps will be reorganized. Immunity and wish. 7. The camp that finds and enters the gate of the end first will become the first in the holy war, and the world of this camp will receive an additional. The main plot of the final holy war, looking for the door to the end, to be refreshed. The final jihad branch, find the holy gates of other camps, break through the holy gates of other camps, and kill the gatekeepers of other camps. Progress, 0/11. Difficulty, 13 stars. Duration, unlimited. Sutinyu opened her eyes again and appeared in the final copy. Beside her were the other 399 blue star players. In front of everyone, there stood a 10-meter-high holy door. The door was closed tightly, and no one could detect what was going on inside. Some players walked around the holy gate and found that from the outside, there was only one door frame standing alone. Lin Wuxia, one of the blue star players, walked up to a big rock and said to the other players, "The team leader comes out." After all the blue star players heard Lin Wuxia's voice, 16 people in the crowd walked out and lined up. Now, based on the team list assigned before entering the instance, the team will be assembled within 1 minute. The members of Sutinyu's team were all from China, and the captain was Guju. As for other teams, when allocating members, they are also formed based on the basic relationship between the country and game friends, and combined with their respective professional abilities. The 16 teams are divided into 3 functional divisions. 1. Looking for the door to the end. There are a total of 150 people, 25 people per team, and there are 6 teams. Their duty is to go out and find the door to the end. 2. Guarding the holy gate of the camp. There are a total of 150 people, 30 people per team, and there are 5 teams. Their duty is to guard the holy gate of their own camp in place. 3. Free assault and harassment. There are a total of 100 people, 20 in each team, and there are 5 teams. Their duty is to sneak attack the holy gates of other camps. Depending on the situation, support the searching team or the guarding team. This is the allocation of personnel jointly negotiated by the Blue Star Alliance. There are 2 directions, searching and protecting. Searching to the door of the end is the key to victory, and protecting one's own holy door from being breached and eliminated is the key to victory. Lay the foundation for victory. No one knows the situation of the dungeon in advance, and can only assign a third free direction for players to adapt accordingly. After allocating the teams, the Guardian team immediately deployed defenses around the holy gate and built fortifications, while the assault team spread out to act as scouts to explore the situation outside. Search the team is responsible for monitoring the surrounding situation. The players guarding the first team took out various game props from the panel, and within a moment, a fortress gradually took shape. These game props are jointly provided by the Blue Star Alliance for players to bring into the copy. Countless traps were set up on the outside of the fortress. Finally, the invisible and transparent device was turned on, covering the entire fortress, and a piece of land was vacated based on the space. Then, a player threw a prop in the 4 directions of the fortress. 2 seconds later, the shape of a hill was projected on the open space, surrounded by trees. Everything seemed ordinary and inconspicuous. Players passing by the holy gate cast curious glances at it from time to time. It's a pity that they can only look at it and cannot enter their own holy door. We really can't enter this holy gate. When a player raised his foot to step into the holy gate, a transparent barrier appeared, blocking the player out. At the same time, the game panel pops up. Players from the same camp are not allowed to enter the holy gate. Players of the same camp cannot destroy the holy gate. After the deployment of the guard team, the 1st to 4th teams are stationed in the 4 directions of east, west, north, and south, while the 5th team is stationed directly at the gate of the Holy Gate and can patrol freely at any time. Is there really a gatekeeper in the Holy Gate? Is he also a Blue Star player? The administrators said there is, so it should be there. You can't put too much trust in the gatekeeper inside. He is only one person. If hundreds or thousands of hostile players rush in, he may not be able to stop it alone. I just didn't know who was chosen to be the gatekeeper. I guessed that several people might be the gatekeepers, but everyone turned out to be outside. Blue Star players who are in the same camp, with different skin colors, different languages, different countries, are now gathered together in friendship and harmony. With seamless translation of the game panel, communication is no problem. After a while, the team that went out to investigate came back and brought back a piece of news. About 10 kilometers to the east, there is a holy gate from another camp. Holy Gate. Upon hearing that it was the holy gate of another camp, all the players' eyes flashed with light. The side mission is to destroy the holy gates of other camps, which means there must be generous rewards. Even if it is not for the reward, if you can break through a holy gate in advance and eliminate the enemies in a world, you will definitely make money without losing money. After Lin Wuxia confirmed the location of the holy gate with the leader of the outgoing attack team, he said, "Don't get excited yet, discovery will come soon, but the players in that camp should be gathered near the holy gate at this time. If we attack rashly, it is very likely that if it attracts the attention of a third-party camp, our holy sect may be exposed. Guardian team, you go to reinforce a circle of fortifications. Half of the attack team will be on guard outside. Be careful not to expose your whereabouts. We can discover other camps, and other camps may also discover us." After Lin Wuxia gave the order, the guard team had to return to the garrison point, and the search team also went out to guard. The remaining players are basically the searching team. Their respective captains and team members gathered together to discuss how to deal with the holy gate of the camp over there. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1094. The other camps also have 400 players plus a gatekeeper. Even if we are confident that we can kill those 400 players, the final gatekeeper is too mysterious and dangerous, and it is not cost-effective to attack directly. How about simply killing someone with a borrowed knife, exposing their camp position to third-party players, and letting them bite each other? This can also easily reveal our location. The distance between us is only 10 kilometers. When we went to investigate just now, did anyone see clearly which world the players were from? One of the assault team members who was left behind spoke up at the right time. The human body of an alien beast, with an average height of about 2 meters, has dark scales on its body, a bit like armor, and it can move. There is a tail on its back. That camp of players seem to enjoy being near the water. He is the first player to discover the enemy camp and has the most outstanding lurking ability, so he can get close to the enemy for detailed observation. It's the giant crocodile armor man from Shaitan Planet. I've been to that world once and done a professional dungeon. I was very impressed. The above characteristics are very consistent. Someone among the players quickly guessed the identity of the player from that camp. Lin Wuxia retrieved the information about the giant crocodile armor stored in the game panel and sent it to all Blue Star players. Take a look, these are the information about the giant crocodile armor collected by the Alliance. Brother, you have been to Shaitan Planet, please tell me more details. The expression on the face of the player who had been to Shaitan Planet was a bit difficult to explain. The main races of Shaitan Planet are the giant crocodile armor that can be armored and the ordinary humans that cannot be armored. Over there, the latter are slaves and tools, and there he was enslaved by a giant crocodile-like man, and the giant crocodile-like man was cruel in nature and took pleasure in torturing ordinary people. From time to time, he would perform a show of ripping people alive with his hands. From the appearance, we blue star people are 70–80% similar to the ordinary people on giant planet. If they learn about the location of our holy sect, they will definitely start an attack. At that time, in order to complete his professional mission, he suffered a lot at the hands of the giant crocodile armor, and there was also a wanted order for him in the world over there. Giant star players are not allies of our blue star. On the contrary, they are very likely to be hostile to us. So, there is no possibility for both of us to reach non-interference with each other. Then strike first. 2 hours later, 2 more attack teams that had gone out came back. The situation within a radius of 50 kilometers has been basically figured out. This is the map drawn. A leader of the attack team handed a map prop to Lin Wuxia. This kind of map prop can digitize the environment that the user sees and form a map. Lin Wuxia took a look, took a photo with the game panel, and then uploaded it to share with all blue star players. After doing this, Lin Wuxia turned to look at the searching members such as Sutingyu and said, "How to deal with the Shaitan planet players is a matter for our assault team. Now that we have figured out the nearby terrain, your search team will set off immediately to find the door to the end." Okay, a leader of the search team responded. Our 6 teams went to look for them in 6 directions respectively. Then we choose the southeast. We choose the north. The west is ours. After confirming the search direction of each team, they set off separately. "Be careful," Lin Wuxia patted Sutingyu on the shoulder, and then looked at Herrick, a non-order member in the same team. "You too." This time, there are 5 non-order members who entered the final copy: Sutingyu, Lin Wuxia, Herrick, Lingju, and Charsu. The non-order members assigned to the searching team include Sutingyu and Herrick. Lin Wuxia and Charsu were in the sneak attack group, and Lingju was in the guard group. Sutingyu nodded. "I understand, boss." Harry smiled shyly. "I will take good care of myself and Sister Susu." Gucci and Fatty came over. "Finished? It's time to set off." "Boss, I took a shot to the east. We are looking in the east direction." Before entering the dungeon, Fatty redeemed the dream repair potion, which solved the problem of obesity and physical weakness. At this time, in the dungeon, he directly became a tall, thin, and handsome boy. Before entering the dungeon, it took Sutingyu several days to adapt to the fat man's new skin. Fatty was originally classified into the guard group, because Fatty was covered in defense and escape props and abilities, so he was divided into 2 outgoing teams, sneak attack and searching, which didn't seem appropriate. After Sutingyu mentioned Fatty's good luck, he was finally assigned to the searching group. No way. People in the Celestial Dynasty do not respect ghosts and gods, but they believe in metaphysics. Let's go. Sutingyu took one last look at Lin Wuxia and others who were staying at the bunker, and then left the place with Gucci and his group. Search after everyone left, the remaining Blue Star players unconsciously followed the outside with their eyes. "We must find the door to the end. For our loved ones, for our home. They have their battlefields and we have ours." Lin Wuxia's voice was not loud, but it was clearly heard in the ears of every Blue Star player. "The first battle is to attack the giant tank star. Weaken their camp as much as possible and reduce the pressure on the searching team." As soon as the words fell, the atmosphere that was originally a little heavy suddenly became excited. "Those crocodile babies. I have long disliked them. Them. East." Sutingyu's team of 25 people had already worn electromagnetic resonance same frequency headset when they set off. Without opening their mouths, they could convey their thoughts to the other 24 people with just a thought. You can also choose a specific person to convey them to. 25 people are equivalent to a temporary chat group. 5 players with defensive abilities are clearing the way in front, and 5 players with hiding abilities are in the rear, responsible for cleaning up the traces left by the passing team. The remaining 15 people are arranged in a row of 5, and the left and right sides remain alert. The 5 people in the middle can relax a little without spending too much attention. After an hour, they will change places with any row on the left and right, and let the 5 people who have been replaced rest. The most important function of this rotation is to ensure that at any time, there is almost no loss of energy and probability of 5 people, and the combat effectiveness can be retained to the maximum extent. Not only Sutingyu's team, the other 5 searching teams basically have this configuration. Fatty was assigned to the front line defense team, and he and Captain Gucci also decided the route. Fatty relies on his sixth sense, while Gucci is responsible for precise judgment. The group of people who had just come out were not too nervous. Seeing that the fat man in front looked nervous, as if enemies were jumping out of nowhere at any time, a player on the left couldn't help but joked, "Fat man, please don't lead us into the ditch. Why do you look down on the fat man?" The fat man has the Halo title reincarnation of the European Emperor, and there are only 7 places in the parallel paradise. In the parallel paradise, some Halo titles are bad, some require specific conditions to trigger, and some are out-of-print Halo titles, like Fatty's European Emperor reincarnation. If the 7th person has activated it, then the 7th person will activate it. 8 people will never activate this Halo title again no matter what. They are all from the Celestial Dynasty, and some metaphysical bloodlines are normal. Moreover, Fatty's metaphysics has been officially certified by Parallel Paradise. I'll try not to bring everyone into trouble. The fat man smiled honestly. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1095. The dungeon does not give any clues about the door to the end, and the scope of the dungeon map is also uncertain. The difficulty is equivalent to finding a needle in a haystack. Sutingyu and the others were mentally prepared and carried out a carpet-like search bit by bit. From time to time, some players use props and abilities such as prophecy and divination to grab the slightest chance. No response. There are fluctuations in this direction. Nothing was found. All members of the search team are equipped with props similar to divination. Even if they were not available before, the Blue Star Alliance has fully prepared them for the players. Other players who were unable to participate in the final Holy War voluntarily took out many props to equip players who entered the final Holy War. It lasted for 7 days and 7 nights. Sutingyu and his party still didn't find the door to the end. During this period, I also met players from other camps. When they encounter someone with a small number of people who can carry out a sneak attack, Sutingyu and his party will attack directly, eliminating as many opponents as they can. When encountering a large number of people, you can only avoid their sharp edges. But it hasn't always been so smooth. There are various unknown dangers lurking in the dungeon map. After 7 days, a team of 25 people, 1 person was eliminated, and 11 people suffered varying degrees of injuries. Fortunately, they brought enough medicine and props, and they could recover in a day or 2. Combat effectiveness. The 8th day. A group of people strayed into a misty black forest, where a group of cannibal crows with hypnotic abilities lived. Of the 24 people, more than half were injured. 9th day. Being ambushed by players from other camps. Among the 24 people, 2 people were eliminated and 15 people escaped from danger at the cost of injuries. 10th day. The 11th day. The night of the 20th day. Sutingyu and his party temporarily stopped and found a suitable and safe location to serve as a temporary camp. After arranging defense and warning props and devices near the temporary camp, Gucci asked everyone to rest where they were. Sutingyu sat on the cushion with his chin in one hand and stared at the small light in front of him. "Boss, let's have something to eat." The fat man handed over an instant lunch box and a bottle of water, and sat next to Sutingyu, eating his share of the box lunch. Time was limited, and Fatty couldn't just light a fire to cook. Gucci walked over and saw that Sutinyu was in a bad mood and asked in a low voice, "What's wrong?" "No matter how cautious we are, in the past 20 days, 3 teammates have been eliminated." Sutinyu opened the packaging of the lunch box, took a mouthful of food with a spoon and put it in his mouth. After all, it is the 13th grade with the highest difficulty level. It is normal to be eliminated. Gucci glanced at little Lucifer sitting on Sutinyu's shoulder. When he was ambushed on the 9th day, Sutinyu summoned Lucifer. Players from the hostile camp who were supposed to be in an advantageous ambush were caught off guard. 10 hostile players were eliminated on the spot and 40 were injured. It was also because of Lucifer's appearance that Sutinyu and his party were able to escape easily. Otherwise, more than just 2 teammates will be eliminated. As long as we are the first to find the door to the end, their sacrifices will not be in vain. Sutinyu nodded and unscrewed the cap of the mineral water bottle. He didn't drink it first, but raised it up. He turned around and smiled again. "Do you want one?" Seeing this, Gucci raised the corners of his lips slightly and pushed the mineral water in his hand over to touch it. Cheers. Tonight, Gucci did not plan to continue traveling at night, but planned to let everyone have a good rest. Arrangements were made for the candidates to stand guard, and the rest were put into the tent to rest. The group spent the night peacefully. When the sky just glowed with a white light, Sutinyu got out of the tent, stretched out, turned around and looked around, and immediately found the fat man standing watch not far away. Sutinyu went over and patted Fatty on the shoulder. "Good morning, Fatty." Unexpectedly, Fatty did not reply to her immediately, but stared at the game panel opened in front of him. Until everyone got up and prepared to leave here. The fat man remained unmoved. Sutinyu was the first to ask, "What's wrong, Fatty?" At this time, Fatty's eyes lit up, and he said to everyone with excitement on his face, "The passive cooldown of my European Emperor's reincarnation halo title has ended, and it can be activated at any time." Sutinyu blinked. "Passive? What kind of passivity is it? What's wrong?" The rest of the people gathered around. "Everyone, please give me some time. It took a lot of effort to trigger the passive. Maybe I can find some clues." The fat man's expression was too serious. Seeing this, he asked everyone to be on alert to protect the fat man's safety. The fat man opened the panel. At this time, the passive skill of European Emperor Reincarnation was activated. He clasped his hands together and closed his eyes, like a statue. A faint golden light overflowed from the fat man's palm little by little, and as time passed, the fat man's whole body was gradually coated with golden light. 5 minutes. 10 minutes. 30 minutes. 1 hour. 2 hours. The fat man still closed his eyes tightly, sweat was dripping from his face unconsciously, and his teeth were clenched. After another 2 hours, a golden figure gradually appeared behind the fat man, slowly rising to a height of 5 meters. At this time, Jinying suddenly opened his eyes, and 2 golden lights burst out, shooting towards the northeast. Jinying raised his hand and pointed to the northeast. After a few seconds, the golden shadow slowly dispersed. The fat man opened his eyes as if he was exhausted, and sat down on the ground. "Over there. Did you find the door to the end?" The fat man shook his head. "It's hard to say. This passive halo title only has a 50% probability of predicting the events I think of, and the predicted events have a 50% probability of being true or false. Therefore, there is a 25% probability that it is a real clue, and the remaining 75% probability is a false clue." Some players sighed. "This is still very unbelievable. This is the door to predict the end." The fat man scratched his head and looked downcast. "It's too difficult to directly predict the gate of ending. I changed my predictions several times in the middle. Some predicted the direction of the gate of ending, and some predicted the environmental conditions near the gate of ending, Finally, the prediction was an event related to the Gate of the End, so I barely succeeded in activating the passive skill. Gucci said, no matter what, when it comes to the Door of the End, as long as there is a 1% possibility, we have to explore it. Fat man, do you need a rest? No, 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 I'll just use the floating vehicle to travel. I can't waste time. The fat man waved his hand and immediately took out a green prop that looked like a pot lid and a turtle shell. It was just big enough for one person to sit down. After 20 days of hard work, I finally got a clue. Fatty didn't want to waste this opportunity. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1096. Following the direction provided by Fatty, Sutinyu and his party walked for 3 days and 3 nights. On the morning of the 4th day, even Fatty himself doubted whether his passive prediction of the Halo title this time was fake. The group renegotiated and decided to explore for 2 more days. If nothing was found, they would change their strategy. In a primitive jungle somewhere on the copy map, a group of people are on their way. These people all wore dark blue robes covering their heads, and their exposed skin was gray, and some strange blood-colored runes could be seen printed on their skin. The 2 people at the front stopped from time to time to judge the direction. Farah, are you sure you want to take these players to find the Gate of the End? Without the people behind them noticing, the people in front did not move their mouths, but the sound was transmitted to the companions around them. What? You want to back down now? But it's too late. We can only go one way to the end. The person named Farah responded coldly. I hope nothing will go wrong, no matter what, even if it is exposed in the end, we cannot drag down Yin Yang Star. Farah comforted his companions, don't worry, the dungeon map is so big, the proctor administrator won't find us. Hope so. He knew that Farah's decision was nothing more than a deliberate backdoor for players from other camps. As long as he found the door of ending one step ahead of the Blue Star players, he would be able to occupy the wishing slot, causing the Blue Star players to lose and the world to be reorganized. Originally, the 2 of them had not planned to take action against the final Holy War. But the undercover Chuzinyu who stayed in Blue Star had his soul and life card broken, and he must have been discovered and killed. With no other choice, the only way to take revenge on the Blue Star players is to take action against the final Holy War. When things have reached this point, there is no turning back. At the same time, several figures appeared at the rear of the team where the Yin Yang people were. There were a total of 22 people in the group. The player responsible for clearing the way forward had a warning tremor from a game prop on his body. This tremor is familiar, a warning that something alive is nearby. There's a situation ahead. As soon as the words fell, everyone stopped. Sutinyu glanced at Lucifer on his shoulder. The latter understood and raised his hand to hide everyone's breath with a gentle wave. After the aura was concealed, a player took out a long prop, grabbed one side with both hands and pulled it open, and an electronic screen appeared in front of him. As the player took the screen-like prop and took pictures around like taking pictures, different pictures soon appeared. Finally, we happened to capture the team where the Yin Yang people were. Looking at the group of players from another world rushing on the screen, some players asked, which camp of players are these? The fat man took a closer look and said, they should be players from Blood Shadow Star. Their skin is gray, and they wear dark blue robes and hoods all year round. This look is probably from Blood Shadow Star. In the preparation stage before entering the dungeon, in addition to exchanging defense and escape props, Fatty also specifically downloaded and read the numerous parallel world materials collected by the Blue Star Alliance. Every team of Blue Star players will ensure that at least one person is familiar with these intelligence materials, while others will go to the Black Tower to train as much as possible to improve their combat effectiveness. Fatty is the know-it-all in this team. Blood Shadow Stars generally like to move at night. Their combat effectiveness is strongest at night and weakest at noon during the day. Hearing that their strength would be weakened during the day, several people were ready to take action. There are only 11 people. It's still daytime to weaken their power. Do you want to take action? If we can't find the door to the end, it would be good if we could eliminate some opponents. The blood shadow stars are nocturnal and are a racial trait. Parallel paradise will not repair their vulnerability during the day, and even the use of fantasy repair agents will not have an effect. This is racial balance. Otherwise, there are giants and dragons in the parallel paradise. In terms of physical strength alone, blue star players have no advantage against such races. If they can be repaired, all the players in the parallel paradise will be giants. The team members who proposed taking action all looked at Gucci. Gucci is the captain and he needs to make the final decision. Etc. Sutingyu's eyes became sharper. Among these players, someone is not a player. Angel Su, what does this mean? If you're not a player, how can you be an administrator? Sutingyu raised her hand and pointed at the two people led by the Blood Shadow Star player. Those two people at the front, although their clothes are similar to those of the Blood Shadow Star player, but those two faces, I have seen them before, they are yin-yang people. The yin-yang stars were kicked out of the battle for Parallel Paradise early on. The yin-yang stars should not appear in the final Holy War. Yin-yang star? The group couldn't help but think of all the previous yin-yang stars that had all collapsed and stopped operating overnight. Well, the parties involved have said so, so it must be correct. After being surprised, everyone was puzzled. Then how did they get a copy of the Final Crusade? At this time, Lucifer, who was sitting on Sutingyu's shoulder, said faintly, "The Blue Star administrator you have met before has the same aura as those two traitors." Everyone was shocked. They can't really be administrators, right? Are they leading the way for the Blood Shadow Stars to open the back door? Damn. It's a shady story. Among the crowd, only Gucci's expression softened. Good thing, those two yin-yang star administrators want to lead the Blood Shadow Star players to find the door to the end, we just need to follow them. Upon hearing this, everyone who was originally angry suddenly burst into laughter. That's right. This is called the mantis stalking the cicada, with the aureole behind. But the premise is that they can't be discovered. Indeed, Blood Shadow Star players have sensitive senses, and the two administrators are even more dangerous. If we are not careful, we are very likely to be discovered, resulting in all our efforts being wasted. Sutingyu raised his hand, "I'll follow them. Lulu will help me hide my aura. It's best for me to follow them. You just need to follow me and keep in touch at all times." Although Lucifer can hide his aura for everyone, when there are too many people, uncontrollable accidents tend to occur. Good idea. This method is the safest. Everyone nodded and agreed with this plan. There is no Lucifer to hide our presence. Just in case, we can't follow him too close. If there is any situation, we will use the liaison machine to contact him. In the last sentence, Gucci looked at Sutingyu and said. Sutingyu blinked, "Okay." After the Blood Shadow Star players in front walked a certain distance to ensure that they would not be discovered even without Lucifer hiding their auras, Sutingyu chased after them with Lucifer. Gucci and others were waiting where they were. 10 minutes passed. Sutingyu sent a signal via the liaison machine. Follow up. So, Gucci and others followed based on the coordinates sent by Sutingyu. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Being a Bug in a Survival Game. Author, Kuanke. Chapter 1097. Sutingyu followed the Blood Shadow Star player for 5 whole days. On the 6th day, Sutingyu's game tablet suddenly popped up. The main plot of the final Holy War, looking for the door to the end, completed. The main plot of the final Jihad, entering the gate of the end, to be refreshed. Sutingyu was stunned for a moment, and then a joy surged into his heart. Is the gate of the end nearby? Sutingyu first sent the news to Gukio, and then carefully looked at the surrounding environment. I saw the two yin-yang star administrators leading people to a cliff. After exchanging a few words, everyone jumped down. Sutingyu was startled, and took out the invisible hat from the inventory, activated the invisibility effect, and then used professional flying skills to fly Lucifer to the cliff. The cliff was bottomless, and Sutingyu's figure kept falling, enduring a lot of pressure. After descending for about 20 minutes, Sutingyu used the feather falling gem, and his whole body suddenly became as light as a feather, buffering most of the pressure. At the bottom of the cliff is the primitive jungle on the other side. Because during the flight's descent, Sutingyu was afraid of being discovered by flying too fast, so no one could be seen at the moment. Sutingyu dug around in the inventory and took out two detection items: pitch black white paper player detector. Props, dark and matte white paper. Grade, blue mystery. Function, print the paper on any map, and you can locate the specific location of a designated group within the map within a short time limit, 3 hours, cooling time, 3 hours. Usage, 9/25. Remarks, please be careful not to fold. I just like to use the most unobstructed body to embrace the air and the world. Props, player detector. Grade, blue mystery. Function, when using the detector, you can detect whether there are other players within a radius of 800 meters. Time limit, 6 hours, cooling time, 1 hour. Durability, 80%. Remarks, search and search, search and search, find a good friend, smile, shake hands, we are all good friends. These two props were obtained from the alien invasion before. One of the props was originally in Qin-Chi's hands, but before entering the dungeon, Qin-Chi gave Suting some of the props he had along with the pitch black white paper. Bring in the fish. Among them, the player detector has been upgraded from rare to blue mystery, and the detection range has been expanded to 800 meters. After the two props were used in combination, 9 red dots belonging to the players appeared on the dark white paper, just southwest of Sutingyu, about 500 meters away. After finding the person, Sutingyu immediately followed him. After finding the person, Sutingyu's eyes widened instantly, and he was shocked by the scene in front of him. A large hole was opened on one side of the frozen lake. It was pitch black inside the hole, and a staircase could be faintly seen leading downwards. The Blood Shadow Star players and the Yin Yang Star management were standing in front of the lake. Sutingyu glanced at the position where Gukifa came from. They have just reached the point where they fell off the cliff. Seeing that the door of the end was very likely to be opened, Sutingyu took out a fixed-point teleportation item from the inventory. After informing Guqi, he installed it on the ground and activated it. Teleport. The faint teleportation light flickered. One after another figures came out of the teleportation formation. After everyone teleported over, Sutingyu picked up the fixed-point teleportation item and took a look. It was already scrapped. This is a one-time prop. Sutingyu had no choice but to use it immediately, otherwise the Blood Shadow Star players would be the first to enter the gate of ending. Guqi and others who were teleported were also staring in the direction of the lake like Sutingyu. Is this the door to the end? It's really hard to find. Huh? Those two administrators are leaving. After the administrator of Yin Yang Star seemed to say something, he did not choose to stay, but left directly. Sutingyu said, Lucifer and I will follow the two administrators. Can you deal with the remaining 9 Blood Shadow Star players? Guqi, no problem. Okay, Sutingyu nodded, then wings sprouted from his back and flew in the direction where the two administrators left. Sutingyu did not catch up directly and reveal his identity. Instead, he waited for the two of them to walk a long distance. After making sure that the distance was far enough, Even if they made any noise, they would not alert those at the gate of the end. Then he released his invisibility, fell from the sky, and stopped. The two stepped down. Sutinyu smiled brightly. Are you surprised? Are you surprised? Are you happy? Farah and the two were shocked. When he saw clearly who was coming, Farah gritted his teeth. He will never forget this face. You again. Sutinyu responded with a smile. He, it's me, it's me, it's me. Farah smiled sinisterly. I was worried that I couldn't find you. I didn't expect you to come directly to my door. The other person took out his weapon directly at Farah's signal. Hearing this, Sutinyu blinked his big eyes and turned to look at the miniature version of Lucifer. Is it possible that Lulu's presence is so small? So, Sutinyu kindly reminded, did you forget something? With that said, Sutinyu raised his hand and rubbed Lulu's little face. Following Sutinyu's movements, Farah and the two finally recognized the puppet-like figure sitting on Sutinyu's shoulders. Was it actually Lucifer, the god of their yin-yang star? In an instant, their expressions suddenly froze. God! You cheated. Grass! How can any player enter a dungeon and bring a god with him? This is unreasonable. This is a bug. Sutinyu was not happy when he heard this and retorted with his hands on his hips, what cheating? Don't slander good people who are easy to attack. Lulu is the spirit of Deathblade, and Deathblade is her bound prop. It's reasonable to bring in a copy. Lucifer slowly flew up and threatened in a face-saving manner, I was run away by you on Yin Yang Star, but now there is no longer the old guy to stop me. Farah and the other two looked panicked and subconsciously wanted to run away immediately. But it's too late. Lucifer raised his golden eyes lightly, and the pressure that belonged to the gods was released in an instant, pressing the two of them to the ground. With the previous experience of being escaped by Chu Xinyu on Yin Yang Star, Lucifer simply used divine power to cut off the limbs of the two people this time, suppressing their mental power so that they could not even mobilize the game panel. You are the god of Yin Yang Star. You actually betrayed Yin Yang Star. God. You're just the lackey of a mere human girl. Farah's eyes were crazy and he started to curse. On the contrary, it was the companion beside Farah, whose eyes revealed the desire to survive. Lord God, we are all from the Yin Yang Star. Please forgive my sins. Being a bug in a survival game. Author, Kuan-Ke. Chapter 1098. Lucifer's eyes were cold and without any hesitation, he raised his hand to cut off the last chance of life for the two of them. Both body and soul were annihilated. Seeing that the two administrators were taken care of, Sutinyu smiled and rubbed Lucifer's little face. Lulu, you did a great job. Lucifer broke free from Sutinyu's ravages, and then waved his little hand to her. Sutinyu understood instantly, took out a bottle of orange juice from the inventory with a smile, poked the straw and handed it to Lucifer. Lucifer took the orange juice, took a sip, narrowed his golden eyes with satisfaction, and flew back to Sutinyu's shoulder. Sutinyu flew back with Lucifer to join his companions. By the time Sutinyu returned, the battle in front of the Gate of Ending had also come to an end. With the advantage of numbers, the advantage of sneak attack first, and knowing the weaknesses of the Blood Shadow Star players, Gucci and his team eliminated all the Blood Shadow Star players without much effort. Sutinyu glanced at the teammates who were touching the corpses and asked Xiang Gucci, how are you doing? Gucci curled the thin transparent thread on his fingertips and replied, no one can escape. That's good. Sutinyu nodded. After touching the corpse, Sutinyu and his party went straight to destroy the corpse and spread the ashes. The group of people looked at the lake entrance in front of them with burning eyes. The other searching teams have been notified and asked to come here as quickly as possible. Then let's go to the Gate of the End first. I'm really curious about what's inside. After a brief discussion, it was decided to leave two team members outside the cave entrance to meet the teammates who came later, and also used hidden props to hide the entire cave entrance. The remaining 20 people entered the cave entrance. The moment they entered the cave, the game panel of the blue star player jumped out. The main plot of the final Holy War, entering the gate of the end, completed. The main line of the final Holy War, pass the first level of the final test, to be refreshed. At this time, even the other blue star players who had been notified in advance of finding the door to the end were excited for a moment. The steps inside the cave entrance are very deep and long, going all the way down, as if you can't see the bottom. As the group hurried on, they looked at the newly refreshed main line on the game panel. The final test, or the first level. Sure enough, it's not that easy. How many levels are there after this? Be vigilant, there might be some difficulties waiting for us here. After walking for about half an hour, the surrounding temperature slowly rose. When a bright light appeared in front of them, the group of people looked slightly happy. But when Sutinyu and others walked out of the long underground tunnel, they were surprised by the scene in front of them. Hot magma. The heat seemed to distort the air. The lone iron cable bridge on the cliff, which was baked red and hot, connected one end to the side, and the other extended to the other side of the cliff 100 meters away. Holy darling, the temperature here is so high. If someone falls, they will die immediately, right? Some players carefully glanced at the magma at the bottom of the cliff and marveled. Another player complained, "Isn't this nonsense? Why don't you jump down and give it a try? That's not a big deal. I'm so blessed, so my sin is not big enough." Soon, Sutinyu and others searched all the places on the cliff here that could be searched. They were all isolated ordinary rocks, nothing special. Why doesn't this game panel have any hints about the first level? Isn't it the first level test for us to go over the cliff? Just passing by? It seems quite simple. Do I need to touch the chain bridge to trigger the game prompt? The only thing that was not searched was the iron chain bridge that was burned red because no one dared to touch it, let alone walk on it. At this time, a player exclaimed, "Can your inventory be opened?" "Mine can't be opened." "What?" Upon hearing this, the others tried to open the inventory, but without exception, none of them could be opened. Everyone's expression suddenly turned ugly. This should be a restriction for us to pass the first level. We cannot use props. Fortunately, the props I carry are still usable, the passive effect of the Halo title is still there, and the professional skills are no problem. While everyone was worried, Sutinyu suddenly thought of something and pulled off the storage ring that had been used as a necklace from around his neck. Sutinyu tried to take out a bottle of water. The results were smooth and there were no restrictions. So, Sutinyu told everyone this good news, "Well, I have some props here, do you want to use them?" It was just a little bit, but Sutinyu took out a dozen game props from the storage ring several times in succession and distributed them to everyone. Except for Gucci and Fatty, everyone else looked confused. "I'll go. It's a space storage prop. Brother Su, how did you get this space storage item? The storage space is so big." Space storage props are also sold in the mall, but the price is more expensive than the fantasy repair agent, and the space is so small that it can't hold many things. Seeing so many people watching eagerly, Sutinyu explained, "It was given by my teacher in another parallel world." When Sutinyu mentioned this, he couldn't help but think of his teacher, Glenn. Even that stupid dragon from the Dragon Clan can participate, so the teacher and his old man should also participate in this final holy war, right? I'll go. Why haven't I encountered such a good thing? I'm jealous of the real name system. The game props that Sutinyu put in the storage ring were the game props that Fatty planned and collected for her to deal with various emergencies. In addition, a lot of magic potions refined by Sutinyu were also put in it. Sutinyu distributed 2 bottles of magic potion that could resist high temperatures and fire to each person. If everyone takes the magic potion, they won't have to worry about getting their feet burned when they step on the chain bridge. Let's go. Get on the bridge. Gucci said, group of 3, go up in batches. Soon, 3 teammates were the first to step onto the chain bridge. The next second, the game panel of the 3 people popped up. The first level of the final test, crossing the bridge. Time limit, 2 minutes. Task reward, free attribute points add 50, random rare prop *1. Mission punishment, the iron bridge breaks and falls into the lava. Crossing the bridge is really the test of the first level. The time limit is 2 minutes and the reward is 50 free attribute points. When did the game become so generous? While crossing the bridge, the 3 teammates informed the rest of the people on the edge of the cliff about the specific situation of the first level. If it takes 2 minutes to run 200 meters on flat ground, normal people can do it. But now we are on the bridge. If we don't take the magic potion to avoid fire in advance, the high temperature alone will be enough to affect the efficiency of crossing the bridge. Sutingyu saw that the speed of his 3 teammates was not too fast, and thought to himself, this thing should be able to fly over, right? It should be okay for her to fly over now and give them a speed up potion or something like that, right?